What's up, my ninjas? Strident here. Today I am going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about force-fed, overused characters. And today's subject is going to be the one and only Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with this character because I think he is an awesome character. He does cool stuff. You can't really have the Joe team without having him, in some way, shape, or form. But what bothers me is the fact that over the years he's kind of become, I guess, due to his popularity amongst fans, he's kind of become like the be-all, end-all. Almost as if G.I. Joe is his show, and all the hundreds of other Joes are just starring in it as guest stars or supporting actors, and to me that's bullshit. Um, you're part of a team. You happen to have one of the simplest gimmicks, the man in black running around with swords and stuff. Okay, fine, I give you that, but that doesn't mean that the whole show is about you. Um, Over the years, they've done so many gimmicks with this character, and at times I think it's too much because people complain about the lack of realism in Batman's universe with some of the stuff that they do with him. But then they buy that, Snake Eyes can just be the magical American ninja that can do everything, hands down, with no type of. There's not much explanation as to why he's capable of these things. And to me, that's just whack, you know? I've read G.I. Joe from the beginning. I'm 32 years old tomorrow. Um, I've been reading G.I. Joe since reading and watching G.I. Joe and collecting off and on for almost that entire time. Actually, no, that's not true. I from the 80s to about the mid 90s, and then I stopped until the last 3 years. But I had always been reading the comics. So I had been collecting for a good, 10, 15 years, and then I stopped. I got a little older, went back into my comics, and then with my son, we got back into G.I. Joe's. Now, Snake Eyes, I guess the my main strife with the way they treat Snake Eyes and they use Snake Eyes is that because of him, it takes away from the shine that other characters could get, and that if the characters don't prove to be as hardcore and one up Snake Eyes, then you really don't get the kind of respect. Fans don't pay attention to him, and et cetera, et cetera. You kind of get pushed to the side, and I think that's lame. Um, I do like the conflict with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, but I believe that in recent years it hasn't been handled as smart and intelligently as it once was. The fact that they can't decide if Storm Shadow is evil, which that's not the way the story goes. This is one of those issues that goes back to what a lot of us, uh, more hardcore, like professional level writers, artists, comic book aficionados, whatever you want to call us, we notice that depending on the writer, certain aspects of characters' personalities are left intact, and they're not kind of poorly, uh, you know, poorly stereotyped in order to make, the character that they like more popular, or in order to make them shine more. Examples of this are various Batman characters, depending on who writes the book. Now, there are tons of examples of this. There are examples of stories where Batman doesn't get something that the world's greatest detectives should be able to deduce in like seconds of hearing, what I mean, what the situation is. He should be able to be like, this is exactly what it is, or this is similar to blah blah blah, and have at least an idea. Um, like a lot of Grant Morrison's stuff as of recent, and people love it, but it's a lot of convenient plot devices so that you get this kind of sensationalized story concerning Batman. Characters like Cyclops. Cyclops is a capable leader. He was capable. He was chosen by someone who mentally probed the guy, physically trained the guy, and prepared him to deal with the things that he has to deal with. And then everybody just they defect to Wolverine because Wolverine is the team badass. Back in the day, I used to call these characters the Michelangelo because he's the character that's being force-fed to you. They make them cool to the, like, uber cool, so that you have to like them. And as a kid, you know, we're kids. We always like the guy who does the most badass stuff, the meanest dude, you know? And to me, it's cool to have those characters, but you can't just take the shine off of other characters because, you know, character B is more popular than character A. Tell a good story that concerns all of them. Now, my issue with Snake Eyes is, like I said earlier, the conflict between him and Storm Shadow. It's a cool conflict if you actually know what the conflict is. And the conflict is not that Storm Shadow is just evil and wants to kill him because he's prejudiced and he hates the fact that, you know, a Gaijin could possibly be considered by his own uncle to be the leader of the Arashikage. That's not the issue. That was one of their issues in a sense, because Snake Eyes could learn. He learned quickly and was able to, and this is from the old Larry Hama and company stuff from back in the day, and they even kept some of this in the current continuity, but Snake Eyes learned quickly. So a lot of times he one-upped his sword brother, Storm Shadow, not intentionally, you know, unintentionally. And at times he would kind of throw their fights to let Storm Shadow come out on top. He was even offered the spot by a hard master to lead the Arashikage, and he refused because this is what Storm Shadow wanted more than him, and he felt, you know, I can't take this from him. This is what he wants to do. But hard master kind of wouldn't bend. He wanted this guy because this guy had what he saw as what would benefit the Arashikage. But anyway, Zartan was hired to kill Snake Eyes for other reasons. I don't want to go all the way back into that, but he mistakenly killed the Hard Master, and Snake Eyes left after this. And then the Arashikage clan blamed Storm Shadow because he was the one that was left. And they knew that he was pissed at his uncle for focusing so much on Snake Eyes. So he joins Cobra to figure out who was really behind the murder. And when he finally figures out that Zartan did it, then he left Cobra and he joined G.I. Joe. This is the part that they always leave out of, like, the modern stuff. The movie was horrible at how they did it. They made Storm Shadow just this evil little motherfucker that just was like, I can't stand the sight of this white kid who comes in and, you know, he's homeless, comes in and eats food and, you know, becomes part of the family. You know, how dare him starve? And it's like, they kind of made you feel for Snake Eyes, but it's not even like that. You should feel for Storm Shadow because Storm Shadow is the more tragic of the two in the sense of, you know, how he lost his family. Or in some ways he is equally as tragic, except he can talk and his face isn't all scarred up. As of late, I've noticed that so many ways that they tell Snake Eyes history, it's just like they keep piling on these things to make you feel sorry for the guy, and then they try to make him do these superhuman feats that there's no way that this guy who he joined up into the Arashikage later in life, there's no way he could just pop up and be that amazing to the point where he's making lifelong ninjas look stupid. Yes, he learns fast, I get that, but this is not The Last Samurai. Americans don't just come to Japan and in 6 months surpass generations of samurai trying to do exactly what they've been doing from birth. You know what I mean? And sometimes I hate that that's like the rationale with a lot of these characters, you know? they're like, oh, here's this American character, and of course he's better than everybody else at doing what they do, you know? Let's send the white guy to Africa. What? The American white dude is a better African than the actual Africans. What? Seriously? You know, sometimes you see this in movies from Hong Kong. And, you know, I love martial arts movies, but I gotta call it how I see it. A lot of times they will do a Hong Kong version of an American movie, you know? Like, Eastern Condors was the Hong Kong version of Rambo, or their answer to Rambo. Red Wolf was Hong Kong's answer to Under Siege. And pretty much they just put a Chinese guy in the role of, you know, whatever the character is, because they feel that their audiences won't feel the American main character, so they need to make a Chinese main character. America does the same thing. I mean, we've been remaking movies from other countries with a white lead character just for the sake of doing so, and a lot of these movies did well in both the country of origin and in the US. You know, The Ring, The Grudge, all those movies, even though the country of origin is, you know, Japan or Korea or whatever, those movies also did well on DVD here, and they're still doing well. And still, you know, you had other directors saying, oh, I could do that, I could do it better than the original. And I mean, in most cases they couldn't, but you know, it's like this semi what's the word I want to use? It's like this arrogance that, you know, if it's not done by us, we won't get it, you know? And I think that's stupid. But back to the point, which there is a point. I know I'm kind of going off of my topic, but you can see this when you, over time, if you look at something like comics, or you look at action figures, for instance. With Snake Eyes, you could build wave upon wave upon wave of action figures based on Snake Eyes alone. You know, the same goes with characters like Batman, wave upon wave. But the thing about Batman is he is the main character, so it makes sense. Whereas in G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes is but one of the main characters in the series, so the focus shouldn't be put solely on him. You know, this is what they've done with Wolverine, and that's not cool. You know, he's one of many people on a team. You can't focus only on one guy or give one guy all this attention and then neglect so many other people, you know? It just seems stupid to me. The thing that made me think about this, though, was in collecting the recent, Rise of Cobra G.I. Joe figures. In that line alone, I think there was like 4 Snake Eyes figures. Then in the Pursuit of Cobra line, there was about, what, 3 or 4, maybe 5 already. And they're not even that far. They're not in that many waves yet. This is like, they're on like wave 4 or 5. And I think in the first wave, you got 3 different Snake Eyes figures. Or 2 different Snake Eyes figures, I'm sorry. And then it seemed like every wave you were getting 2 Snake Eyes figures, you know? The first wave, you had the one with the jacket and the dog and the 2 machine pistols. Then you had the one with the cool, no, I'm sorry. You had the ninja action kick crap, you know, where he had this weird costume on. I don't think he had a kick motion. He had some type of motion. It was like a whirlwind slash. Then you had the version with, I showed you this version in my review, that had the cool old school scimitar, you know, his signature sword, and with all the detail, pretty much the only Snake Eyes figure that you ever need. Then they had the other ninja, you know, dojo, whatever you might call it, Snake Eyes, with all these different masks. And I think one of the masks, his face is fairly, or one of the heads, his face is fairly revealed. You can see he has blonde hair and everything like that. And there's a couple other ones that I neglected because, like I said, there's just too many. You know, Rise of Cobra, you had the standard Snake Eyes from the movie. Then you had the one with the coat on. Then you had the winter or Arctic one. Then you had the City Strike version, which was pretty much the Resolute version all over again. Then you had or however the order works, because I can't remember if Resolute came first and then Pursuit of Cobra. But anyway, then you had the what was the other one? There was like another. Oh, there was the one on the motorcycle. Then you had the. I mean, there was a bunch, you know, and this video would be really long if I sat here and I went piece for piece by every single Snake Eyes that there was. But you know, sometimes I would like to see that kind of attention put into other people, you know, and so it's just annoying. Like for my son, I've bought him a handful of Snake Eyes figures, and I'm wondering to myself, like, do we really need that many? And I mean, he's gotten to a point where every time he sees a new one, he wants that new figure. And I'm like, dude, you have like 10 Snake Eyes figures. Why do you need another one? I mean, he's a kid, so, you know, I understand. But at the same time, the fact that they offer that many is kind of like, you know, a lot of us collectors know a good figure when we see one, and 95% of the Snake Eyes figures that they put out are kind of like freaking like BS, you know? It's like they're shelf warmers or peg warmers. They want to fill up a space in a wave, and they say, hey, kids love Snake Eyes, let's just give them another Snake Eyes, and then repurpose parts from other figures and put a Snake Eyes head on it, and then, you know, it's like automatic money. I get the business model, but I think the attention, though, still needs to be going to some other characters. So I just figured I would throw this out there, maybe start a discussion. I know it sounds like you know, I'm picking, but I'm focusing in on someone, because in the comics that I'm working on right now, I have an ensemble cast, and there is a definite main character. You know, there's a set of main characters, but there is a definite singular main character, and I can't focus only on him and shit on the rest of the characters, otherwise my story is lopsided. So there is focus that's given to all of these characters, but more focus goes to the main character. Unlike G.I. Joe, where the main characters don't get the kind of focus they should get for Snake Eyes. I mean, recently, and you know, there are examples of books where they spread the focus. And I should say that in the comics, actually, the old comics and some of these newer ones, that's not the case. But in the animated series that we've been getting, and in the movie, and in, you know, these toy lines, they kind of just pull a old school Marvel DC move where, you know, the most popular character gets to show up in every book. And to me, I understand you got to sell books, but sell books on a good story, you know, awesome art. You know, the content needs to be good, not just the most popular character in your universe happens to show up in all your books. So anyway, in the comments below, like usually, just tell me what you guys think about this, you know? Hit me up, give me your point of view on this. I know it was a long one. I'm going to go through, and I might do one on maybe, you know, a couple other characters and see, you know, what is the point of all this, you know, and is it fair? Is it well done? What needs to be, you know, fixed? So, you know, you guys hit me up, let me know what you think, and that's it for me. You've been great. Peace.